I know all this. Of all people, I should know. And yet you still get caught up in this. And that's why I think it's important that we talk about it. Thank you so much for joining us again on Second Act TV. Once again, I want to welcome back Joni Caldwell Lerner, the life coach and relationship expert. Joni, as always, thanks so much for being here.
Well, thank you for having me. You know how much I love to be here.
I want you to put on your relationship expert hat today. I don't know if you've heard this or not, Joni, but men and women communicate differently.
Come on, really?
And there was a great article here. As a matter of fact, John Gray, who's has been on this channel a lot, has contributed to this, and I can identify with so many of these points. So let's dive into it. Let's talk about some common misunderstandings that contribute to relationship conflict. Now, the first one here, it says that men are more likely to ask questions, whereas women are more likely to hint. That men are socialized to make direct requests, while women are socialized to put others' needs in front of their own and just dangle some hints out there. Yeah.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. And you know what? It's I think the most powerful fix in that situation is women finding their voices and asking for what they need. And across the board, somehow we think they're supposed to know what we're thinking and what we need and what we want, which is completely unfair to men. I mean, they're not mind readers and they don't think like women. So we need to say, hey, listen, I really would like to hear from you once a week. That would be really cool. For men, man time is different than women time. If he says, I'll text you soon, that means a couple of weeks. For a woman, it means sitting at it's 2 hours. He hasn't texted me yet. Yeah. Communicate.
Yeah. To me, it's funny the way I was either raised or socialized, as they say here, that the directly asking for what I want is almost, to me, is rude. I'm not, that's wrong. I'm not saying that's right, but I totally, when I read that, it's like, well, if I just ask directly, it's like being so forward.
I think I totally relate to that. And I don't want to be a bother. I don't want to be too much. I don't want to be too much work. I want to be, this is old me, way old me, folks. This is way old me. I want to be what you need me to be. Right. So that's the old way of being. And again, socialization, that's a great way to put it. Yeah. The new way is here's what, and by the way, and it's not in the article, but do this with sex too. Ladies, let them know what you like. Let them know what you want. They'll be like, oh yes, because that'll make them a really good lover for you.
Absolutely. Yeah. Stop hinting. And I'm talking to myself there because I do tend to do that. So that's a big point that leads to relationship conflict, a big misunderstanding. Number 2 here, I love this too. Women are usually more interested in the details. And they write here, she says, do you remember that sweater I wore on our second date? And he hears her say, if you cared, you'd remember.
Oh, interesting. That is interesting. It makes sense to me because we do tend to remember the first kiss, the first date. I remember the first date, the date of the first date, but I did cheat. I went back to the calendar and I knew it was a Saturday in the first week of March. But anyway, I do remember more details. But on the other hand, there are things that happen experientially in the moment where I think men can connect to it too. But yeah, we can't fault them for not, I mean, seriously, if you want them to remember, say, hey, I want you to write this down on your calendar and then I'm going to quiz you later. I mean, give them a heads up.
I actually had to do that with Paul. I actually
don't put him on
did
the
that
spot.
with Paul.
You put him on the spot, then you make him wrong. Yeah, that's not fun for the guy. for sure.
Oh, that was really funny. He will not remember our very first date. And it's easy because we met on Match. And it's like 1-12-12. Who doesn't remember that? 1-12-12. He could remember every little detail, every sports stat going back 40 years. But 1-12-12?
Mine was 1-19-18. The first match, the first time he and I talked.
Yeah. Well, and again, what they say here for women, and this is a women's issue. So the advice here is for women, just remember that we have an amazing memory for detail that men just don't. So don't take that as a slight, which is hard to do, huh?
Well, no, now that you've pointed it out, I don't think it would be as hard to do. But I think this is the point in my brain as you're talking, is that why would that matter to him? He's like, I'm with you. I love you. I'm here for you in this moment right now. Why are you hung up on 1-12-12? So, that's just, just putting myself in his shoes, I think.
And you're so right. You're so right. But, it's again that women in general are more sentimental. Yeah. And certain things mean certain things. And I guess if a guy knows that, I don't know. I think it's more the women's project. Let's not take it so seriously. And again, I'm talking to myself.
Well, and that thing about if he loved me, then, how about if you loved you, then you would ask for what you need and you wouldn't be hung up on these little details.
I like that. Thank you, Joni. See, this is why you're the expert, not me. So then here, men and women often have different understandings of listening versus solving. And boy, did we just go through that. That when a woman has a problem, a man typically offers solutions when really she just wants to be heard and validated versus here's what you should do.
The most powerful thing, I agree. And we've touched on this a couple of times, over the years, because it's so important. Though let's touch on it again.
Right.
Here's how you get out of jail free card, guys. You say to her, "Did you want me to offer solutions, or would you like me to just listen to you?" Ta-da! You just the landmine has been sidestepped, and she can say, "No, I really want you to help me solve this," or she goes, "No, just listen to me. I just want to verbalize it."
Yeah. Well, and validating and we've had, like you said, we had this on other segments, but validating, like if I'm upset about something, don't tell me I'm wrong right away.
Yes.
That's not what it was. I was there. I heard it.
No, but here's another get out of jail free card. If a man repeats back what she says, she now knows she's been heard.
Well, then, and again, to close out that point, and it's written here, and I so agree. And a woman, if it's the other way, tends to give the man what she would want, like a shoulder to cry on, which is the last thing he needs.
Yeah,
it's true. We give what we want. So anyway, on that point, Joni, as a rule of thumb, as I say here, men should offer women compassion first, and then help. And women should offer men help first and then compassion. So here's another good point, that men tend to compartmentalize and women tend to think big picture. Now, what they mean by this here, I think, is that mentally and emotionally, men can separate like work, relationships, everything else, where we look up here and remember every moment of our lives and bring it to some sort of to a crisis or whatever. Talk to me about that.
Well, they've done brain studies on men and women. We actually think differently, which is why in a corporate setting, for example, women are more collaborative. They want to share. They want to collaborate with other people. That's normal for their brains. Men are very single-minded and focused on one thing at a time. For example, so a man is having a conversation with you, very involved, and then he remembers the football game's on.
Yeah.
Right? He loves football, so good for him. And then now he's in football. You sort of cease to exist.
Yeah.
It's not, don't take it personally. It's not because he doesn't love you. It's because now he's focused on
football.
Yes. That's
so
okay.
funny. Yeah. And as I say here, and men, remember that just because, we're bringing up the past or putting a bunch of other elements into something, it's not necessarily that we're nagging. It's just the way our mind works. That's how we communicate and share. No, it's true. And I think we're laughing here, and a lot of it, it was kind of in this context, it's humorous. But it's also, we both need to hear it. I mean, again, I just loved reading this. I even sent it to Paul. It was funny. I said, and with a smiley face, said, this is what just happened to us.
Well, and
so,
being humorous,
yeah.
by the way, it's a really powerful way to bring your energy up. So if you're angry and down here, you can't be laughing and stay angry. It just, so I'd rather you be laughing than, ruminating.
Yes. Thank you. Here's another great one. I even circled this, that women often say too much and men often say too little. That when a woman feels stressed, she wants and needs to vent, kind of going back to our last point, and uses very dramatic phrases like I did. Well, that was just get dramatic, because that helps me get out what I was feeling. And then just the opposite with men. If they feel stressed, they shut up and want to go into their cave.
When I know that John is off, maybe he's had a bad day in the market or something like that. How are you doing, honey? Fine. Okay. Then I just let it go. But if he says, it was a rough day in the market, and then he starts and he rolls with it, that's fine, because then he's clearing. Men tend to have 1,500 words a day. Women tend to speak 5,000 words a day. So I get that. Let them go into their cave. Let them, your man. Let them do what they need to do, and then I'm here for you when you want to talk. Let me know if you want to vent at all. But I love you, sweetheart. I'm sorry you had a bad day. That's it. Yeah. And with men, it may be boring to you to listen to her go on and on and on about, they sent the wrong color dress.
It was more than that.
Yeah. Or Joni said something, just say, wow, honey, that must have been rough for you. I know you're disappointed. That wasn't what you expected. Whatever.
Yeah. And again, talking, to us women is, I think you said that this is not a time to feel rejected. This is to understand that this is what the man needs, and just, leave him alone. It's a huge, huge difference between us. Here's another good one. That women often like reassurance, and men may not understand why. And I love the example here that he thinks, I'm committed to her. She knows I love her. And she thinks, what has he done to show me he loves me today?
Interesting. Oh, there's so many parts to this. So, so when I first started dating John, he said, what are you afraid of? Because I was like, oh, I don't know if I want to move in. And I said, well, I'm afraid that you'll stop trying. And he said, I promise you, for the rest of our lives, I will keep trying every single day. The way a man can try is very different for each person, but just showing up as best they can. For a woman, so I'll just say to him sometimes, just tell me everything's going to be okay. There's literally nothing wrong. And he goes, why? I said, just say it. It makes me feel good.
Right.
Clean the counter or something.
It's so easy. Easy, and that's, I think, why I wanted to have this conversation again, too, for men to realize how important that is, or how they can change the whole course of not just the relationship, but that day within the relationship. Just, hey, I love you. Done. That's it. Out of there, go back to your cave. Last one here. And this is another good one. Women may think that they aren't being heard. Said that a little bit different than what we talked about earlier, when in truth, they just didn't consider the timing. Another great example that he gives here is as she says, you never listen to me. And he says, or he thinks, she talks all the time. All I do is listen.
Oh my gosh.
I love that.
It's interesting because as a woman, I understand what you're saying, and I understand the frustration. But I think maybe she wouldn't talk so much if you acknowledge somewhere in there a couple of times, wow.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I heard, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to go look at the I'm going to go to the garage and organize my tools now. Love you.
Yeah. Well, I get that. Sometimes we just say things and don't consider what they're doing. Especially if they're watching TV or sports, like we talked earlier. It's not that they're ignoring us. It's just kind of what they do. And it's hard to remember that at times because you do feel like you're being ignored. So if there is something that we want to say and be listened to, then we have to make sure that he's in a position to listen.
Yes. Do you have a moment to hear me right now? Mm-hmm. Do you have a moment to listen to me right now? Because there are some people with logorrhea, which literally means diarrhea of the mouth. Okay. So they're tuning out. That's how they're dealing with it. That makes sense to me. Yeah. So women have to be conscious of if they're doing that and they're trying to connect somehow. How about they do something that actually connects and sits in front of them and says, hi.
Especially during the last quarter in the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
I think that's what they mean by timing.
No, that's divorce proceedings.
Yeah. That is so funny. And he says here too, also that it's okay, for men to say, hey, honey, I really want to hear what you have to say. I want to, can we talk about just a little bit later? And
I love that. Yes.
Yeah. And you were acknowledged at least.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, and again, you can know all this. That's what really struck me the other day when I had the situation is that I know all this. We talk about this on the show. Of all people, I should know. And yet you still get caught up in this. And that's why I think it's important that we talk about it, more like people, you need to hear this more and more. So you remember that a lot of these misunderstandings don't need to be misunderstandings if we just understand the differences. Joni, thank you as always. I will link to all of your information to your coaching page. And then, of course, your podcast, Wake Up with Joni. And Joni, I so look forward to having you back again soon on Second Act TV.